In 2026, one small immigration mistake could send you home at the airport. Not weeks later, not after an appeal, right there at the gate. Your boarding pass scanned, your bags checked, your hotel booked, and then a quiet message on a screen. Step aside. 90% of American travelers have no idea what's changing there. They assume the system works the way it did 5 years ago. It doesn't. Airports are being redesigned around new verification rules. Officers are being replaced by cameras. Risk scores are being calculated before you even board your flight. And one missing document, one overlooked detail, can trigger a denial you won't see coming. In this expository documentary, I'm going to show you the exact document customs officers will expect in 2026, the one most travelers don't prepare properly. I'll walk you through 3 questions that confuse even experienced flyers, that kind of determine whether you're waved through or pulled into secondary screening. And at the end, I'll give you a verification checklist designed to get you through immigration in under 5 minutes, calmly, confidently, without guesswork. Because what's rolling out in 2026 isn't just policy, it's a complete redesign of how you're tracked, verified, and approved. If you travel even once a year for work, vacation, or family, this is information you cannot afford to ignore. Subscribe now, not out of habit, out of preparation. Because the travelers who stay informed move differently, and in 2026, that difference matters. Here's what most Americans haven't fully processed yet. In 2026, at many major airports, you won't hand your passport to a person first, you'll hand your face to a camera. This isn't theory, it's already operating in phases at places like Hartsfield-Jackson Atlanta International Airport and Heathrow Airport. What's happening now as pilot programs becomes standard procedure next year. Here's how it works. You walk up to a camera station. You pause. It captures your image. At the same time, your passport's embedded chip transmits biometric data, a digital template of your face, stored when the passport was issued. The system compares live scan to stored data. No stamp, no small talk, no officer flipping through pages. If the match is confirmed, the gate opens. Processing time? 8 to 12 seconds. From a logistics standpoint, it's efficient. Airports move thousands of people per hour. Staffing is expensive. Passenger volume keeps rising. Cameras don't call in sick. Cameras don't get fatigued. Cameras don't misread handwriting. Benefits are obvious. Lines move faster. Congestion drops during peak travel hours. Human comparison errors decrease. For business travelers and tight connections, that speed matters. But speed isn't the full story. Biometric data doesn't disappear when you step through the gate. Retention policies vary by country. Some claim limited storage periods. Policies change. Agreements between nations evolve. Databases can be shared across agencies. And once your biometric data exists inside interconnected systems, you don't personally control how it's referenced in the future. Then there's accuracy. Facial recognition technology has improved dramatically, but studies still show uneven performance across demographics. Older travelers, individuals whose appearance has shifted significantly, weight changes, facial hair differences, medical procedures, even lighting variations. If your passport photo is 8 or 9 years old and your current appearance is meaningfully different, the system may hesitate. When it hesitates, you're redirected. Secondary screening doesn't mean guilt, it means delay. And delay can mean missed connections, additional questioning, or added stress. Now here's what seasoned travelers quietly do to reduce friction. If your passport photo no longer looks like you, renew early. Don't wait until expiration. At the scanner, stand directly in front of it. Remove glasses. Pull hair away from your face. Keep your expression neutral. Avoid leaning or tilting your head. Don't step back into shadow. These systems work best with direct alignment and clean lighting. You're not posing for social media, you're matching a government-issued biometric template. Now let's address the opt-out option. Yes, in 2026, many airports will still offer a traditional lane with human officers. But here's the practical reality. Resources are shifting towards automation. Fewer officers will staff manual lanes. That means longer wait times, especially during holidays, especially at major hubs. You can choose the traditional path, that is your right, but understand the trade-off: time. This is where a broader lesson emerges. The system rewards those who adapt, not those who resist blindly. Adaptation doesn't mean surrendering privacy concerns. It means understanding how the system functions so you can move through it deliberately, not reactively. Air travel in 2026 isn't just about packing efficiently. It's about understanding the technology that evaluates you before you speak a word. And this is only the beginning. The tiered entry system, fast lane or scrutiny. Imagine landing after a 10-hour flight. Half the plane walks through automated gates without stopping. The other half is redirected before they even reach the line. No announcement, no explanation, just two different paths. That split is becoming intentional. By 2026, immigration is operating on a tiered entry model, a risk-based system that evaluates travelers before wheels leave the runway. Here's how it works. Instead of waiting until you land to assess you, screening increasingly happens before boarding. Your passport data is transmitted in advance. Passenger manifests are reviewed against centralized security databases. Travel history is pulled automatically. If you're categorized as low risk, you're essentially pre-cleared. When you arrive, your experience feels frictionless. Quick scan, gate opens, you're through. If your profile triggers additional review, you may not know until you arrive, or in some cases, until you attempt to check in. Pilot programs testing this layered screening model have been active at airports like Los Angeles International Airport and San Francisco International Airport. These hubs handle massive international traffic, making them ideal testing grounds for predictive clearance systems. This isn't random selection, it's algorithmic sorting. And for Americans, this carries implications that most people underestimate. Your digital travel history now carries weight. Every entry, every exit, every country visited, past overstays, even brief ones resolved years ago, remain in international databases. Visa compliance matters. If you've ever stretched a tourist stay close to its limit, that pattern is visible. Frequent last-minute one-way tickets, that's data. Multiple short stays in high fraud regions, that's data. Inconsistent travel declarations, that's data. And here's where it gets less discussed. In some jurisdictions, broader digital footprints may factor into risk modeling. Public records, identity consistency, known associations. The systems don't need your opinions. They analyze patterns. To be clear, this doesn't mean someone is scrolling your personal posts at the airport. It means automated systems increasingly integrate cross-reference data points to generate a clearance confidence score. Efficiency improves, lines shorten, airports function more smoothly. But the trade-off is expansion of surveillance infrastructure. This is the tension point of modern travel. Speed versus oversight, convenience versus data consolidation. For most compliant, consistent travelers, the system works in their favor. Predictable behavior tends to move smoothly through predictive screening. For those with irregular histories, even minor ones, the process may feel less forgiving. Preparation now goes beyond having the right document in your hand. It includes understanding the trail you've already created. And here's something worth reflecting on. If you've ever been pulled into secondary screening, even once, comment the word secondary below. Not for drama, for data. Because the more we compare real experiences, the clearer this emerging system becomes. Security intensification. Here's the part most travelers don't think about until it's happening. You've cleared the biometric gate. You're walking towards baggage claim. An officer steps forward and says, "Sir, we need to take a look at your phone." Not because you look nervous, not because you said something wrong, because the screening model flagged your profile for additional review. In 2026, border security isn't just about who you are, it's about what you're carrying, digitally and physically. Oversight is expanding in 4 major areas. First, device checks. Authorities, including U.S. Customs and Border Protection, already have the legal authority to inspect electronic devices at the border. That includes phones, tablets, and laptops. The threshold for basic inspection is lower at ports of entry than inside the country. Most inspections are brief, some are more detailed. As screening systems become more predictive, device checks can be triggered by risk indicators pulled before you land. Second, regional targeting. Travel patterns matter. Frequent trips to certain regions may result in more questions. Not accusations, questions. Border policy often adjusts based on current intelligence priorities. That means enforcement intensity can shift throughout the year. Third, vehicle inspections. Land border crossings are increasingly integrating automated plate readers, undercarriage scanners, and AI-assisted cargo analysis. If you're driving across a border in 2026, expect more technology and fewer purely manual checks. Fourth, AI-powered risk scoring. This is the connective layer: travel history, ticket purchase behavior, visa records, prior inspections. These data points feed into systems that assign a risk tier before you even speak to an officer. Most Americans will never notice this layer. They'll just feel, "that was easy," or "why did I get pulled aside?" Now, let's get practical. If you travel internationally, treat your devices like documents. Keep them charged. If your phone or laptop cannot power on during inspection, that alone can raise suspicion. A dead battery complicates verification. Before travel, remove files you wouldn't want misinterpreted out of context, not because they're illegal, but because borders are not the place for explanations that take 30 minutes. Enable Face ID or biometric unlock if you use it, but understand this: you may still be asked for your passcode. Laws and policies vary depending on citizenship status and circumstances. Know your rights before you travel.
Travel with minimal sensitive data stored locally. Back up important material to a secure cloud service before departure. That way, if a device is temporarily held for inspection, your business or personal life isn't frozen. This isn't about fear, it's about reducing friction. Most inspections are resolved quickly when travelers appear organized, calm, and transparent. Disorganized devices, inconsistent answers, or non-functional hardware create delays. Preparation here is quiet. No announcement, no warning, just a smoother experience when it counts. Because modern border security doesn't only evaluate your paperwork, it evaluates your preparedness. And the difference between stress and efficiency often comes down to decisions made before you even leave home. The work visa point system shift. If you think having a job offer is enough in 2026, think again. The quiet shift happening right now is this: immigration isn't asking, "Are you qualified?" It's asking, "Are you competitive?" For decades, many employment-based visas operated on eligibility. Meet the criteria, file the paperwork, wait your turn. That framework is tightening. Visas like the H-1B visa and the L-1 visa are facing structural pressure, not elimination, but recalibration. Here's what's shifting beneath the surface. First, education weighting. Advanced degrees are carrying more influence, not just whether you have one, but where it's from and how directly it aligns with the role. A master's in a high-demand technical field ranks differently than a generalized credential. Immigration adjudication increasingly cross-references labor market needs with applicant background. Second, industry demand weighting. Governments are studying workforce shortages in real time. Fields like artificial intelligence, advanced manufacturing, cybersecurity, and certain healthcare roles are prioritized. Other sectors see slower approvals. This means two applicants with identical degrees may receive different outcomes depending on the industry classification tied to their employer. Third, rising salary thresholds. Higher wage floors are being used as a filtering mechanism. The theory is simple. If a company truly needs specialized talent, it should be willing to pay above a defined benchmark. For large tech firms, this increases cost per hire. For smaller companies, it may eliminate the option altogether. And fourth, ongoing employment checks. Approval is no longer the finish line. Continuous compliance monitoring is expanding. That includes confirmation that the employee remains in the qualifying role at the qualifying salary, performing the duties described in the petition. Role changes, remote work across state lines, salary adjustments, corporate restructuring, these events can trigger reporting requirements. This is especially relevant in a post-remote work economy, where job descriptions evolve quickly. Now, let's talk impact. Major technology companies already facing numerical caps on H-1B visa allocations may encounter tighter practical quotas as wage requirements rise. When compensation floors increase, total hiring volume often contracts. Mid-skill workers feel pressure from both sides. They may not qualify under elite advanced degree weighting, yet they compete in categories where domestic hiring is politically sensitive. For multinational companies using the L-1 visa pathway to transfer executives or specialized knowledge employees, scrutiny around specialized knowledge definitions is increasing. That phrase is being interpreted more narrowly. And here's the deeper shift. Immigration systems are moving from static eligibility checklists to dynamic scoring environments. It's not just, do you qualify? It's, how do you rank? The lesson for professionals is practical. Credential stacking matters. Industry alignment matters. Documented impact inside your company matters. Compensation transparency matters. This is no longer a paperwork exercise. It's a positioning strategy. For American employers, it means workforce planning must begin earlier. For international professionals, it means career decisions now influence immigration viability later. Eligibility opens the door. Competitiveness decides who walks through. And in 2026, that distinction becomes sharper than ever. Green card and residency reform. What if permanent residency stopped being permanent in spirit and started becoming conditional in performance? That's the direction 2026 is signaling. For decades, earning a green card meant you met the threshold. Background cleared, sponsor approved, paperwork verified. Once granted, the expectation was stability. Follow the law, maintain presence, renew when required. Now, the evaluation lens is widening. First, civic exams are becoming more rigorous in tone and structure. Naturalization testing has always included civics and language components. What's changing is emphasis. Expect more detailed questioning on constitutional principles, civic structure, and civic responsibilities. Not just memorized answers, but comprehension. Interview officers are being trained to assess clarity of understanding, not rehearsed scripts. Second, cultural integration review. This isn't about personal beliefs, it's about participation. Officers increasingly examine continuity of residence, tax compliance, employment consistency, and community ties. Gaps in address history, long unexplained absences, inconsistent filings, these details carry more weight. And fourth, economic contribution scoring. While not publicly labeled as a point system, economic stability is quietly central. Continuous employment, business ownership, tax contributions, and professional licensing all strengthen residency narratives. The underlying logic is measurable contribution. And fourth, fraud audits are rising. Data systems now cross-reference immigration filings with tax records, social security data, and employment verification databases more efficiently than ever before. Inconsistencies that once required manual discovery are now automatically flagged. Marriage-based cases in particular face more documentation scrutiny. Joint accounts, leases, insurance policies, authenticity is being validated with greater precision. The emotional shift here matters. Residency is becoming performance-based, not in a dramatic way, not in daily life, but in documentation, consistency, and long-term track record. For applicants, this changes preparation strategy. Keep organized tax records, document employment history clearly, maintain updated addresses, avoid casual assumptions that it'll probably be fine. Because when standards tighten, it's rarely announced with fanfare. It shows up in denial rates, longer interviews, additional evidence requests. This isn't designed to alarm, it's designed to clarify. Permanent residency in 2026 rewards stability, transparency, and measurable contribution. If you know someone applying for a visa or a green card this year, share this with them, not to pressure them, to prepare them. Walking into an interview informed feels very different than walking in hopeful. And in this new environment, preparation is the advantage. Asylum and humanitarian changes. If you think asylum decisions are made on emotion alone, that assumption will not survive 2026. The standard is tightening, not in headline speeches, in documentation rooms, interview transcripts, and evidentiary thresholds. Asylum and humanitarian protection systems are moving towards a higher burden of proof. Applicants now must present clearer, more consistent evidence that the harm they fear is specific, credible, and connected to protected legal grounds. General instability in a country is no longer enough on its own. Officers are trained to distinguish between widespread hardship and individualized persecution. That means timelines must align, testimony must remain consistent across interviews, supporting documents must withstand verification. Detailed interviews are becoming longer and more structured. Officers compare initial border statements, credible fear interviews, and formal applications side by side. Minor discrepancies that once might have been overlooked are now analyzed carefully, not to intimidate, but to standardize outcomes. Wait times are also extending. Backlogs continue to strain the system. More screening layers mean more review hours per case. For applicants, that translates into prolonged uncertainty, work authorization delays, travel restrictions, family separation stress. At the same time, the broader human rights debate continues. advocates argue for expanded protections and humanitarian flexibility, policymakers emphasize border integrity and fraud prevention. Both perspectives influence procedural adjustments. What matters for viewers is clarity. Asylum in 2026 is document-driven, detail-sensitive, and interview-intensive. For those pursuing protection, preparation is not optional. Legal guidance, organized evidence, and chronological consistency make measurable differences. This is a policy shift, not a moral verdict, and understanding that distinction helps separate rhetoric from reality. Students and DACA uncertainty. Here's a reality most college brochures won't mention. You can earn a degree in the United States, secure a job offer, pay taxes, and still have no clear path to stay. That uncertainty is sharpening in 2026. Let's start with Deferred Action for Childhood Care Removals, commonly known as DACA. For years, DACA has provided temporary protection from removal and work authorization for individuals brought to the U.S. as children, but it's never been permanent law. Court challenges, administrative revisions, and political transitions have kept its future unstable. That instability affects life decisions in very practical ways: buying a home, starting a business, accepting long-term job offers. When renewal timelines and program scope remain uncertain, long-term planning becomes complicated. Now, layer in student visa changes. International students on F1 visas traditionally relied on optional practical training as a bridge into the workforce. From there, many hope to transition into employer-sponsored visas. That bridge is narrowing. Harder transitions from student status to work visas are emerging as salary thresholds rise and employer sponsorship scrutiny increases. Companies that once sponsored routinely are reassessing legal costs and compliance exposure. Sector-specific job restrictions are also tightening in certain fields connected to sensitive technologies or national security concerns. That doesn't affect every student, but it does influence career strategy for those in advanced research, engineering, and data-heavy industries. And here's the most important point. There is still no guaranteed residency pathway for most international graduates or DACA recipients. Education alone does not convert into status. Employment alone does not secure permanence. For young professionals who grew up in the United States or built their academic life here, that creates a unique emotional strain. They are culturally American, professionally American, socially integrated, yet legally temporary. Living in limbo affects more than paperwork. It shapes career risk tolerance, geographic mobility, willingness to invest, even mental health. This isn't about ideology, it's about structural reality. In 2026, students and DACA recipients must think strategically about field selection, employer type, salary positioning, and long-term sponsorship viability earlier than ever before. Because in this environment, optimism without a plan is fragile. And the difference between temporary and permanent often comes down to preparation measured in years, not months. Family immigration shift. Family reunification has long been a cornerstone of U.S. immigration policy, but 2026 is changing the balance. Expect reduced family-based categories. Fewer visas will be issued simply because a relative is a citizen or permanent resident. The government is emphasizing skills-based selection. Applicants with education, experience, or economic contribution are increasingly prioritized over traditional sponsorship ties. This shift reflects a broader economic-first logic. The system is designed to reward those who are seen as immediately contributing to the workforce and national economy. It's no longer enough to have a family connection. Your professional profile matters more than ever. From a policy perspective, this raises questions. On one hand, it could strengthen the labor market and fill high-demand sectors efficiently. On the other, it challenges the humanitarian principle that families should have the right to reunite. For American citizens and permanent residents planning to sponsor relatives, this means preparing earlier, documenting qualifications carefully, and understanding that approval timelines may lengthen, even for immediate family members. It's a practical reality. The system rewards preparation, documentation, and alignment with economic priorities. Families who rely solely on relational ties without understanding the new criteria risk delays, denials, or even lost opportunities. This isn't speculation. It's the framework that experts and immigration lawyers are advising clients to navigate today. If you know someone depending on family sponsorship this year, tag them or share this video. Missing these changes could cost them years of waiting. Border tech expansion. Border security in 2026 is no longer just fences and checkpoints. Technology is taking a front seat. Expect drones monitoring key entry points, constantly scanning for movement, combined with AI-powered surveillance systems analyzing patterns in real time. Every vehicle, every traveler, even cargo is subject to risk scoring before reaching an officer. Infrastructure is expanding. Checkpoints are being modernized with automated scanning lanes, biometric gates, and centralized monitoring hubs. The goal, officials say, is faster approvals for low-risk, pre-verified travelers. But the speed only applies if you fit the qualified profile. Critics warn that this selective efficiency creates a two-tier system. Those flagged as low risk move swiftly, while anyone outside that profile faces longer scrutiny, repeated screenings, and tighter observation. For travelers, the practical takeaway is preparation. Digital travel history, compliance records, and passport accuracy now matter more than ever. If your profile triggers a higher risk score, even minor errors could translate into delays or secondary screenings. Life lesson layer. In a system designed for instant assessment, knowledge and preparation are your most reliable tools. The technology isn't slowing down, and neither should be your planning. The 2026 Immigration Survival Checklist. Let's get practical. After everything we've covered, policy shifts, biometric takeovers, border tech, this is your actionable roadmap to move through airports and immigration without surprises. Pre-travel essentials. Check your passport. It must be valid for at least 6 months. A photo older than 2 years can trigger extra scrutiny. Confirm your visa, round-trip ticket, and hotel reservations. These are no longer optional. Officers will expect clear, verifiable documentation. Financial proof isn't just about funds. It's about demonstrating stability and purpose. Bring clear statements or credit verification. Travel insurance might seem minor, but it can smooth interactions in unexpected cases, from medical emergencies to document loss. Airport strategy hacks. Measure your carry-on before leaving home. Avoid surprises that slow you down at check-in. Label power banks with exact capacity and carry them in the cabin only. Screenshot your boarding pass. Keep printed copies of your hotel confirmation. Digital only isn't enough. If you plan to opt out of biometric lanes, arrive earlier. Fewer officers mean longer waits. Device protection. Backup documents offline and in the cloud. Email copies to yourself. Screenshots of visas, boarding passes, hotel confirmations. These can save hours in secondary screening. Store backups both locally and in a secure online account. A powerless device can raise flags. Lesser-known insider tips. Dress neutral and avoid flashy statements. Immigration officers respond best to clarity, not confusion. Don't avoid jokes or unnecessary commentary. Answer directly and consistently. But don't overshare. Stick to what's asked. Policies like this evolve fast. If you're serious about traveling smart in 2026, subscribe now because the next update could change again without notice. Knowledge isn't just power. In 2026, it's the difference between clearance and delay. Preparing now keeps you in control of your journey no matter how the system evolves.